We are extra live. Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the weekly Vega Fairground Testnet Jam. My name is Daigan. I'm one of the community managers at Vega, and you probably recognize me from the bi-weekly newsletter or here and around Discord or other different channels that Vega has. So welcome to Fairground Jam. This is an ongoing series, and it takes place every Thursday at 6 p.m. UTC +1 or British summertime. And each week we take a deep dive into a different aspect of the Vega protocol with a member of the Vega team or a special guest. Then we tend to follow up with an open Zoom room so that any keen attendees may have a chat with the team and or follow up on some of the themes covered. So if after this call you're interested in following up further, come and join us in the Zoom room and we'll be happy to chat with you. This week we have a first-time team member, one of the key players in the incentives team, Gordon, and he'll introduce himself in just a bit. Today, Gordon and I will be talking a little bit more about the process of putting the incentivized testnet together, how we found the second set of games, and the plans for the future of the incentivized testnet. As always, some quick housekeeping before we begin. Whilst Gordon is presenting, you're free to ask questions in the Twitch chat, and he will answer those at the end of the call. And about 5 minutes before we end the session, I will put the Zoom link in the Twitch chat, and we encourage you all to come along, as I have said earlier. So without further ado, I guess we should begin. Gordon, would you mind introducing yourself quickly and telling us a tiny bit about yourself?
Hey, so I'm Gordon. I joined the Vega team earlier this year, and I'm a delivery lead, pretty much working mainly with the core team, so the guys developing the protocol itself, and working around some of the incentives and the incentive program that we're starting to expand upon with Vega, with the community at the moment.
Nice. Yeah, it's great to have you here. And yeah, we've been working very closely with you over the past few weeks, and it's been an absolute pleasure. What were you tell us a bit more about what you were doing before for Vega and like what drew you into this space?
Yeah. So I've been working in sort of software development as a product owner quite a number of years ago, and then moved across into sort of Scrum Master, Agile Coach type roles. And that'd been working with various different domains from energy industry, automotive, through to semiconductor development, which was quite interesting. And I've always, since 2016, 17, sort of been interested in sort of the crypto space, but taking a bit of an interest in blockchain and things like that, and then had the opportunity to join the Vega team earlier this year, and jumped at the chance to be involved in a really interesting, exciting project.
Lovely. Yeah, sounds like you've had quite the journey into the crypto DeFi Vega blockchain space, but we've all come from complete different backgrounds and ended up just gathering together to try and create something new and work with a fantastic group of people and a wonderful community. Yeah, it's great to be here. It's great to have you. So yeah, let's get into the questions that I have about the incentives. So if I'm correct, Gordon, you were behind the bug report from the first incentivized testnet activity. How are these testnet games, activities, everything used to improve the protocol, and what's the purpose behind them?
Yeah, so the testnet or the Fairground Incentives kind of serve a number of purposes, really. So to start with, they allow us to collect data at scale. So we're able to incentivize the community to use the protocol, use the UI, etc., and be able to sort of carry out sort of incentivized activities, and we can gather an awful lot of data on that. Hopefully we find some issues and some bugs, outside of a mainnet scenario, mainnet environment, which allows us to then use that data, use that feedback of how you've been interacting with the console or how the protocol's been working, that sort of thing. Gather all of that data, grab all of that feedback, go through it, prioritize that sort of that feedback, and then be able to directly sort of make improvements to the protocol and the UI and the user journey through some of the UI there. And then the other sort of side of those incentives is to give the sort of the community a real chance to both learn about the protocol, learn about how to use the console and things like that, and to participate in those incentives. So it's not purely about us gathering data and things like that, but it's about the community learning, the community participating. With this being a decentralized protocol, the community eventually will be running this in key in this, and the more we can engage and have people participating, the better. So yeah, it serves a number of different purposes.
Yeah, that was a really good answer. And yeah, it's very key getting the community actually testing the things we're making, because it's for them and it's for everyone. That is gonna, the eventual users of the protocol should be the ones that are testing it, refining it, and helping us make it what they want it to be and what we want it to be. So I think it's a
exactly
synonymous kind of symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, and it's it's quite exciting that as a community member you have the opportunity to shape how the protocol, shape the UI, things like that by directly giving feedback, which either in a centralized or a more traditional sort of project, you get the product, if you like, as you would in a traditional place, whereas with this with this protocol, with such community engagement, you get to shape feedback and be part of it, which is really quite cool.
And yeah, on that, like, we're progressively decentralizing the protocol and making it so that over time we can take in a lot more feedback and make it a lot more community owned. There are of course some things that are very difficult to have community inputting on, and we try to make the decisions that we can give out to the community, we like to, but if making something as complex and big as Vega takes sometimes like a bit of ownership, and then we slowly bring things out and out until eventually we don't have to do much at all, and it's just more of a foundation, and we're on the side. But that's very much into the ethos of Vega. Back to the incentivized games. What key lessons did you take from the first set of activities that we did a few months back? How did you use those in putting together the second batch that we did recently?
Yeah, so the first incentive, Dodgems, which we've got over the back here, which is quite cool. We gathered an awful lot of data from that. So there's a blog post out there, and I won't go too much into the details of that, because do read up on the blog post, and it gives you a bit more information. But in summary, we'd taken on chosen to take on some technical debt in that we ran the liquidity orders and pegged orders, they're very similar, so we used the same sort of bit of code for that. However, which was fine in our testing and our QA activities, but when we released that out and had some sort of testing at scale through the incentive, it uncovered that there were some problems with that, which we'd intended to repay that technical debt, but it gave us the data to realize that we needed to accelerate that and reprioritize that to be done quicker. Yeah, so it's those sorts of things, and that's kind of the way that we're gathering that data. If things major bugs are found and things like that, it really helps us to then gather that data and prioritize it. And there's an awful lot of feedback that comes through. So, we do capture and review all of that. But then we'll prioritize that and feed that into the team's backlogs and work on that as we work through other features. Something we're really quite good at Vega as well is, when we're planning ahead, is having a balance of, refactoring, assessing what improvements we can make, as well as implementing new features. So, it's a really good balance, and a lot of this feedback that we get through the incentives allows us to maintain that balance of features and maintenance, protocol improvements, things like that.
Yeah, thank you for the insight. Could you tell me a little bit more about the second round of incentivized testnet games? What was the task? How did the participants find it? And yeah, anything interesting that you would like to add that people perhaps behind the scenes wouldn't have known?
Yeah. So the second incentive was actually the first of kind of this next period. So as we're progressing towards our mainnet, there's lots of features in there that we want to test at scale. We're pretty confident over a lot of them, but getting real users, real participants to use things is really key for us, and gives us that kind of testing at scale. So the first incentive was a participant-led incentive, or participation incentive, sorry, and it was testing out the ERC20 bridge. So we'd done a lot of testing on this, but we wanted to test that at scale. So this was getting people to deposit and withdraw test tokens into their Vega wallet. So it was fairly simple. There was a couple of Vega on reward, and we had a reward pool. Yeah, this was sort of the first step, and as we progress through this sort of incentive, which maybe we'll touch upon later, but we'll have other ones that are maybe more involved and slightly different in nature. So kind of what goes on behind the scenes of it. Yeah, so we have to sort of decide upon things that we would like to test at scale. So typically these are things that we're fairly confident about, but we would want some real world kind of use on them and see what data that gives us back. So we kind of decide upon that, and then we need to kind of dog food our own protocol and APIs and things. So we need to write scripts to be able to interrogate and make sure that people are participating in the right way. And for example, the ERC20 bridge, it was a deposit and a withdrawal, so we had to write some scripts using our own APIs to check that people were doing that. Which is further sort of testing that we're doing on our own protocol, which is kind of cool. Yeah, and then there's some website changes and leaderboard changes and things like that we go through, so that everyone in the community that participates is able to kind of see what's going on. Yeah, and then once the incentive kind of comes to a close, we then need to go through that to make sure that everyone has kind of participated in the spirit of the incentives, and then we look to rewarding the participants for their efforts and joining in and participating.
Thank you. I feel like I got the full life cycle of the incentive there. Yeah. Nice. So on the last thing you mentioned, I know that there's usually some cheeky players that will try and game the system. Do we have any of that this time? Is anyone trying to break the game in itself, or get loads and loads of Vega token? You tell me.
Yeah, so Yeah, I mean, these incentives are, as I mentioned at the beginning, you know, they're kind of for people within the community to take part and you know, feel a little bit part of Vega, because you know, ultimately it's a decentralized thing, and the community is important. So you know, we do these incentives with the spirit of the incentive, and we hope that everyone sort of abides by that. You know, so this recent one was 1 participant, 1 reward, but we occasionally get people that you know, want to try and game the system, if you like. So we've had a number of sort of accounts that are sort of suspect, or you know, likely sort of bots. Or I think there was an interesting method where people were changing their Twitter handle and re-registering, but you know, well done for having a go at that, and it shows some sort of you know, some quite clever sort of tactics out there in the community. But we're aware of some of that stuff, and you know, we're on top of that in most cases. And yeah, we do have to kind of filter out duplicates and filter out where people are obviously sort of gaming the system a little bit. So yeah, we see some sort of players in the system, if you like.
No, great. We have some questions in the chat, and I'll get to them at the end. But for you guys watching, thanks for asking along. We will preach them eventually. But in the interest of time, let's move on to the next question. Did anything end up breaking during the second run of games? And yeah, what did you expect it? Did you not? Did anything break at all? Or was it much more smooth than the first time?
Yeah, so we did see that some of withdrawals were taking longer than we expected, and that was something that we hadn't really picked up upon in our testing, and was, I think, related to some of the load that was going on, which is, you know, part of the reason that we do some of these incentives. So yeah, that was really interesting feedback. The system behaved and stayed stable, you know, while everyone was on. So yeah, we're really happy with the protocol and happy with the bridge. But I think there's some sort of performance enhancements that we're going to look at, and there's some items that are on the backlog that the team are going to triage and bring into to progress at some point in the very near future, I expect.
Yeah, the withdrawal issue was a confusing one, and we got loads of people raising it from the community, and yeah, like without these things happening, we can't fix them. So like, we appreciate it all.
Yeah, definitely.
So if we look at, like, instead of it being on the process of incentivizing and creating all of this itself, and more you personally, what is your biggest worry when you're putting these these incentives together, and also the rest of the team? And what makes you personally the happiest once it's all over?
I think what worries me is, you know, that we're going to do something that works, and that people that participate find useful themselves as well. So it's a two-way thing. So I think, you know, that we get meaningful data, and everyone in the community is learning something, and making sure that they're kind of relevant and useful. So I worry a little bit about, you know, making sure they're useful to both the protocol and the development of that, and the community as a whole. Yeah, and then obviously success is, you know, when we see good engagement, and we see the leaderboards filling up, and that's kind of cool, seeing that people are engaging, especially when we get new registrations. Yeah, so that's kind of cool. And then also when we actually find issues, you know, if things have gone through and we've run tests, and you know, and our processes seem to think that things are generally okay, and when the community finds things, it puts more work on our plate, but that's really cool because we're finding things that we didn't know before, and we're learning. So that's a real, makes me happy and feels like a success.
Nice answer. Yeah, I personally, I quite like it as the leaderboards are filling up, and it's like a game. It's a big race to see who gets there first. And then also like this, the last one was so popular that we extended the amount of Vega that were available. So it was initially, I think, 5,000. And then it was such a popular initiative that we doubled it to 10. And it just depends on, because we imagine how much the community will engage with something, but then if it's a lot more, we actually want more people to try it out. So we're trying to kind of find the balance there too. But yeah, it was really quite cool to see the level of engagement from the last incentive activity, and that it actually worked as intended. So on the topic of that and the last one we did, have you and the team discussed any further incentivized testnet activities?
Yeah, so as I think some of the community will be aware of, the Vega tokens are going to start vesting, and people will have access to them and things. So soon after that happens, and we have a mainnet, people are going to want to stake their tokens and delegate them to validators and earn rewards from those. So a lot of our thoughts have been around incentives around that sort of stuff. So we're pretty confident that everything works as well as is needed for it to function. But when you get lots of people doing it and people using it in various different ways and things like that, so we'll probably set some incentives around that in the very near future. And then something else that's coming along will be, with people with tokens, we'll be able to vote on governance and things like that. So that's probably a likely next one as well. And there's some UI and things and some user journey throughout that UI that's really interesting to get feedback from. So getting people to participate in incentives and using that, and there's lots of different ways of doing it, different sort of paths and journeys to stake and nominate and your tokens. So there's lots of different variations of incentivized activities that we might be able to do in the near future.
Yeah, it'll be actually quite interesting. After tonight, at midnight, I think the tokens are unlocking UTC today. So there'll be different functionality that we can start trying out and playing around with on the Vega network. Yeah, that's most of my questions on incentives. We had some comments from the Twitch chat, some saying that the bridge has improved quite a lot. So kudos to the team. And yeah, thank you. That's in part thanks to the testing and all the people getting involved. There's also lots of when Vega list, when moon. So Vega lists tonight. Apologies about the lack of strap your moon boots on and get ready. We'll have an information post out very soon about the details around the listing. We apologize that it didn't come a bit sooner, but there's been so many different things that we've been working towards over the last few weeks, and most of them are coming together tonight. So hopefully after today, things will be a lot more clearer and smooth sailing. There was also a question on when we're paying out the rewards for the incentivized testnet activities, and I believe with that we are getting started with a lot of them are going tonight, and we've actually had quite a few meetings on this, so that's something we're really working on. And yeah, we will hopefully after this time make this process a lot faster and a lot smoother going forward. It's just, yeah, there are so many different milestones Vega's hitting right now, but after this week and mainnet and everything else, we hope things will be much faster going forward. But thank you for always being such a supportive community and bearing with us through it all. And yeah, Gordon, I don't know if you have anything to add. Otherwise, I have a couple more questions for you.
Yeah, I think just, not talking about sort of the tokens or anything like that, but in terms of sort of rewarding the participation, it's really really useful for us to help have the community help and participate in these incentives. And when we get these first rewards going out, we'll learn from that and streamline that process. And please do bear with us a little bit, because I think we always will get people trying to sort of game the system. And as I mentioned about the spirit of these incentives, and about community spirit, that sort of thing, there is some sort of triage of making sure that people aren't trying to take more tokens than they should be rewarded, when we want them to go out to valued members of the community. So do bear with us a little bit on that, and yeah, we'll make sure that they're rewarded as fairly as possible.
Perfect. Okay, Gordon, it's been fantastic to talk to you about incentives. What else do you do at Vega? Or what else do you like doing around Vega?
Learning about the protocol, every day for me is as a learning day, or a school day, if you like. Just being surrounded by such great people on the team. Everyone's really committed to the protocol and to Vega, and it's amazing. And having had a sort of a keen interest and a almost hobbyist sort of technical background, being immersed in this blockchain, it's amazing to be involved and learn every day.
Beautiful answer, thank you. Is there anything that you'd like to get more familiar with or learn more about?
Yeah, just yeah, as I said, every day's learning, and it's sort of one of those things where you go, well, that's really cool, and want to learn a bit more about that, and this side's really cool, and want to learn a bit more about that. So yeah, nothing generally, but yeah, just keep getting immersed in Vega and the protocol.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been quite fascinated by the engineers and all the team, like just the stuff they're working on. Even like some of these Fairground jams, you get really cool people speaking, and then it's just nice to hear about what everyone does. Let's move away from crypto for a bit then. Tell us an interesting non-crypto related fact about yourself, if you have anything.
Oh, right. Well, I don't know. Interesting fact. I once hitchhiked from South Wales in the UK through Europe and into Morocco for a charity event. And yeah, that was fairly hard going and quite eventful.
Yeah, that's really impressive. I've never even run a marathon or done any long distance trekking, so I wish I did more of that, and I've still got time to do so, I guess. But yeah, that's cool. Very cool. Okay, Gordon, that's the end of your interview.
Awesome.
/ discussion / whatever. Is there anything that you would like to ask me?
I don't know. What's an interesting fact about you, Daigan? There we go.
Damn, I really should prepare.
Yeah, sorry.
I was one of the first people to start the blockchain societies around the universities in London.
Wow.
So I was like leading them across UCL, Imperial, and LSE. So I've always been very, very deep inside the blockchain ecosystem space.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know, Vega just took my interest, and I was like, hey, how's it going, guys?
Yeah, oh, that's super cool. I like that.
Yeah, thank you. That is the end of the Vega Fairground Testnet Jam. Thank you guys for attending this week. For all that someone asked again about reward distribution, and we are getting to that, and it should be starting today. So you should hear more about your rewards from the most recent incentivized games we've been putting together. Please bear with us over the next few hours as we get ready for the Vega option 3 token unlock. There'll be more information about that fairly shortly. Just hang tight. It will definitely come to you guys. And yeah, we look forward to midnight tonight, and we're really intrigued to see how everything goes down. So it's been a pleasure. You'll catch the recording of this on the Vega YouTube channel afterwards. Do hang out with us in the Zoom room if you would like to. We'll be there in a few minutes. And thank you, Gordon. Hope to see you again at some point. Until next time, guys. Bye.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.